The Philadelphia Eagles were flying high, undefeated, looking every bit like a team ready to make another deep playoff run. But then came the Denver Broncos, a team that, on paper, the Eagles should have handled. And for most of the game, they did. That's what makes this loss so frustrating. It wasn't about being outplayed or outcoached from start to finish. This was a collapse, a fourth-quarter meltdown where the Eagles shot themselves in the foot time and time again until there was no way back. Penalties, execution errors, poor communication, you name it. Philly did it to themselves, and that's what made this defeat sting more than most. Let's call it like it is. The Eagles had this game. They were leading by 2 touchdowns heading into the final quarter. The defense had dominated through 3 quarters. The offense had found its rhythm. And even though things weren't perfect, it felt like one of those gritty wins where you overcome some mistakes and still walk out with a dub. Instead, what followed was a collapse that not even the most pessimistic fan saw coming. 18 unanswered points from Denver. A complete unraveling. And a harsh reminder that no matter how talented you are, the little things still matter in the NFL. And to their credit, the Eagles players owned up to it after the game. No excuses. They knew they blew it. You could hear the frustration in their voices, and not because Denver was so dominant, but because they knew they had this game wrapped up. Multiple players mentioned being out of sync, not being on the same page, missing open looks, and committing dumb penalties. They called it what it was: self-inflicted wounds. False starts, missed assignments, holding calls at the worst possible times. The kind of mental mistakes that championship teams can't afford to make. And the Eagles, until now, were looking like a championship team. One player summed it up perfectly: if we don't shoot ourselves in the foot, we win that game. And he's right. Philly had a 3-possession lead midway through the third. The defense was holding it down. The offense had already put together 2 really solid drives, one of which ended in a beautiful touchdown from JALEN Hurts to Dallas Goedert. Everything was flowing. Even the guys who had been quiet so far this season, like Devonta Smith, were finally getting involved in big ways. But then came the penalties. The missed deep shot to A.J. Brown. The illegal shifts. The drive that should have ended in points, but instead were wiped out by avoidable mistakes. It all piled up. But before we get into all the negatives, let's talk about some of the bright spots, because believe it or not, there were a few. For starters, JALEN Hurts played one of his best games of the season. He looked confident, composed, and in control for most of the game. He made great decisions at the line of scrimmage, like when he audibled into that gorgeous wheel route that led to Saquon Barkley's touchdown. That wasn't a play called from the sideline. That was all Hurts, recognizing the look, adjusting the call, and trusting Saquon to win the matchup. And win it he did, torching his defender down the sideline for a 47-yard score. That play alone should have been enough to spark the Eagles the rest of the way. Hurts ended the day completing 23 of 38 passes for 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a passer rating of 100. He wasn't perfect, but he was sharp, especially when targeting Devonta Smith, who finally had the kind of game Eagles fans have been waiting for. Smith finished with 8 catches for a season-high 114 yards, showing off that crisp route running and big playability that had been missing early in the year. A.J. Brown also had his moments, but the chemistry still looked a little off on a few plays, including what could have been a game-sealing deep ball in the third quarter. On that play, Hurts let it fly down the middle of the field. A perfectly timed shot to a wide-open A.J. Brown, who had broken free and was streaking toward the end zone. It should have been a walk-in touchdown. But Brown hesitated mid-route, maybe not expecting the ball, and that slight slowdown was enough to ruin the timing. The pass sailed just out of reach. No points. And it was one of those moments you immediately circle as the what-if of the game. If they hit that, the score becomes 24-3, and it's over. The Broncos don't come back from that. But they missed, and Denver stayed alive. The defense, for most of the game, did their job. Through 3 quarters, they allowed just 3 points. The Broncos couldn't get anything going. Philly was winning in the trenches, pressuring Bo Nix, stuffing the run, and forcing punts. In fact, after Denver's field goal in the first quarter, they went 6 straight drives without scoring. The Eagles' defense was flying around, making plays, and putting their offense in position to build on the lead. And that's what makes the fourth quarter collapse even more baffling. Because suddenly, everything stopped working. The defense, which had looked so stout, started giving up big chunk plays. The offense couldn't stay on the field due to penalties and miscommunication. The Broncos, sensing an opening, pounced. They ran the ball right down the Eagles' throats to cut the lead to 7. Then came a strong passing drive, capped by an Evan Ingram touchdown and a gutsy 2-point conversion call from Sean Payton. Bo Nix found Troy Franklin on the outside, and just like that, the game was tied. The momentum had flipped. Lincoln Financial Field got quiet, and the Eagles looked stunned. Rookie corner Khalil Ringo had a rough outing in his second start, getting targeted frequently and giving up multiple key catches, including that 2-point conversion. But let's be fair here. He's young, inexperienced, and learning on the fly. Not everyone comes in and plays like a Pro Bowler in year one. He'll grow from this. Still, it was a tough day at the office for him, and those growing pains were costly at a time when the Eagles needed consistency. Then, back on offense, things got even worse. A holding penalty pushed the Eagles behind the chains. Then an illegal man downfield wiped out a first down. And if that wasn't enough, a brilliant fourth down conversion. Hurts hitting Devonta Smith deep down the right sideline got called back due to an illegal shift by Saquon Barkley. 3 big mistakes on the same drive, each one more frustrating than the last. And that's what I mean when I say the Eagles gave this game away. And it didn't stop there. On defense, the Eagles looked like they had Denver stalled on 3rd down deep in their own territory. But then came a controversial, unnecessary roughness call on Zach Bond. It wasn't late. It wasn't dirty. It wasn't dangerous. It was football. But the refs threw the flag, gave the Broncos 15 yards and a fresh set of downs, and the crowd let them hear it. And while, yes, you don't want to blame the refs for a loss, that was a moment that absolutely changed the drive, and maybe the game. Still, the defense held strong enough to force a field goal, giving Hurts and the offense one last chance. And credit to them, they almost pulled it off. A big completion to Jahan Dotson sparked hope. But then came the final deep shot to Dallas Goedert, a clear case of pass interference that somehow didn't get called. It was blatant. Defender never turned around, grabbed Goddard's arm, and disrupted the play. No flag, no justice. And the Eagles' last shot ended in chaos as both A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith went up for the same ball in the same spot, disrupting each other and ending the game in a collision instead of a miracle. And just like that, the Eagles' undefeated season was over. They're now 4-1, and the taste this loss left was bitter. Not just because they lost, but because they beat themselves. The talent is clearly there. The leadership is clearly there. But championship teams don't make these kinds of mistakes, not when it matters most. Now they've got a short week, a banged-up roster, and a lot to clean up before facing the Giants on Thursday night. Now, the focus shifts to how the Eagles respond, because that's what separates the contenders from the pretenders. Everyone takes a punch eventually. Even the best teams drop a game they shouldn't. But it's the bounce back that matters. And right now, this team has a golden opportunity to show what they're made of with a Thursday night game looming against a division rival. The locker room clearly understands the urgency. The tone after the game wasn't one of panic. It was frustration, accountability, and most importantly, motivation. They know they let one slip away, and now they've got to fix it. One of the most pressing issues that absolutely needs to be addressed before Thursday is the running game. It's been a problem all season, but it was especially glaring in this loss. Saquon Barkley, one of the most dynamic backs in the league, finished the game with just 6 carries. That's not a typo. 6. In a game where the Eagles led for most of the afternoon, where the passing attack was working, where balance could have iced the clock, Barkley was barely involved on the ground. And it's not like he was getting stuffed either. His early 17-yard run was one of the spark plays of the game. But for some reason, the coaching staff went away from him completely. Now, yes, Barkley did have a fantastic touchdown catch. And yes, he made an impact in the passing game. But this offense is so much more dangerous when he's a true dual threat, pounding defenses on the ground and creating mismatches as a receiver. Limiting him to just 6 rushing attempts in a close game is baffling, and it speaks to some of the questionable play calling that has plagued this team so far. It's not that passing more is a problem. This is a quarterback-driven league after all, but abandoning the run entirely when your offensive line is struggling and your lead is shrinking, that's how you lose control of a game. And that's exactly what happened. Speaking of the offensive line, they were clearly not at full strength. Landon Dickerson went down again, and his absence was felt immediately. Communication dropped off, the pocket got more chaotic, and the penalties started piling up. Illegal formations, false starts, holding calls. The line looked completely out of sync. And while it's true that the group is banged up, the level of execution simply has to be better. Too many drives were killed by one bad snap or one careless penalty. That's something that can't happen, especially against a defense like Denver's that thrives on momentum swings and pressure. With the Giants coming up next, a team that loves to blitz and disguise pressure, the offensive line better tighten up fast. But again, the good news here is that the team isn't in denial. The players know exactly where they messed up. Jalen Hurts said it himself. The execution wasn't good enough. And when your quarterback takes full ownership like that, you know the rest of the locker room will follow. It's a veteran-heavy team, loaded with guys who've been through real adversity before. This isn't a young group trying to find its identity. This is a team with Super Bowl expectations, and sometimes a tough loss like this is exactly what it takes to snap back into form. That said, the margin for error is getting smaller. Injuries are starting to pile up. Opponents are starting to figure out where the soft spots are. And here's where things could get tricky. The Eagles' first estimated injury report of the week is already out, and it raised some eyebrows. While the team didn't actually practice, the report gave us a glimpse at how things would look if they had. And Saquon Barkley was listed as a DNP with a knee issue. Now, the early word is that it's just soreness, and he should play on Thursday night. But anytime your top offensive weapon shows up on the injury list just days before a short week game, it's cause for concern. Barkley already hasn't been used enough. If he's less than 100% or somehow can't go, the Eagles will be forced to adjust again, and we haven't seen much evidence that the run game can thrive without him. There's also the issue of offensive rhythm, especially in the red zone. For the first time all season, the Eagles were forced to settle for a field goal after getting into the red area. That's not necessarily a disaster. It happens to every team, but it felt like a warning sign. Earlier in the year, they were automatic inside the 20. Creative play design, smart pre-snap motion, mismatch hunting, it all worked. But against the Broncos, things got a little stale. The timing was off. The routes weren't as sharp. There were misreads and hesitations that hadn't been there before. And it's not like Denver was playing flawless defense. The Eagles just couldn't execute cleanly when it mattered most. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy. Share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In a move that has sent shockwaves through the NFL rumor mill, quarterback Baker Mayfield reportedly told insiders that he would only consider joining the Philadelphia Eagles if current starter Jalen Hurts is no longer in the picture. The explosive claim has ignited a frenzy among fans and pundits alike, raising eyebrows across the league. Sources close to Mayfield say the former #1 overall pick has grown increasingly frustrated with the lack of clarity surrounding his role and potential opportunities in the upcoming season. While Mayfield has shown flashes of brilliance throughout his career, the quarterback has often found himself in a carousel of uncertainty, hopping from team to team, looking for the right fit. Now, according to whispers circulating in the NFL world, Philadelphia has emerged as the ideal destination, but with one major caveat. He will not play backup to Hurts. The Eagles, fresh off a season that saw Hurts continue to impress both as a passer and a dual-threat option, are reportedly caught off guard by the news. League insiders suggest that Philadelphia's front office is evaluating its options, but remains committed to its young star quarterback. Meanwhile, Mayfield's camp appears to be testing the waters, seeing whether any team is willing to make a bold move that could upend the current quarterback hierarchy. Analysts are already speculating about the potential domino effect this rumor could trigger. If the Eagles were to entertain the possibility of moving Hurts, either through trade or other maneuvers, It could open the door for Mayfield to return to a starting role sooner than many expected. Conversely, if the Eagles stand firm, Mayfield's potential suitors may shrink, leaving him with difficult decisions about his future in the league. Fans are taking to social media, some outraged, others thrilled, as debates rage about whether Mayfield's demand is a savvy negotiation tactic or a risky gamble. One thing is clear: the NFL landscape is rarely static, and with whispers like this, the offseason promises to be anything but quiet. Could Baker Mayfield really force the Eagles' hand? Or was this just another tantalizing tease in the league's ever-spinning rumor machine? Only time will tell, but for now, the chatter is deafening, and the drama is far from over. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.